Hi everyone, it's Jan with What You Make It, and I hope you are having a fantabulous day. When you all recently left me some questions that you were interested in having me answer, one of the major themes to several of the questions was, where do I get inspiration from? What do I do when my mojo takes a hike? And there's several things that I do, and I thought today I would share one with you. This is something that I do quite often when I'm having a little bit of a block, and that is I participate in a challenge. And there's lots of places that you can find challenges to participate in. You can yourpaperpantry.ning.com is a great place. My scrap room, I hear, has some great challenges going on. Split Coast Stampers is another place that has weekly challenges, and so many people have challenges on their blogs or on their YouTube channels. And every week it's something different. There's, if you're a card maker, Split Coast Stampers or Paper Tray Ink might be a great place to go, because they each kind of have weekly challenges that they put out there. They do a color inspiration challenge, or they do a technique challenge, or, you know, different things like that. And when I'm needing to just kind of jumpstart me, sometimes participating in a challenge is a great way to go. And even if you don't want to go participate in one of those, finding something that challenges you, a technique, finding maybe a YouTube video that you really like the outcome or the technique, and just go play and try that challenge. Today, the card that I'm going to share with you came as a challenge from one of my friends' YouTube channel. Many of you know Sybil, who is J and Sib 80, and she is a design team member this month for Not Too Shabby Shop. She's doing a really fun challenge with Marci and Luca, two of the characters from La La Land Crafts, and you'll have to go over to her channel and hear the whole story. But traveling Marci, Luca went to Hawaii and thought that sweet little Marci was going to show up, and when she didn't show up, it caused a lot of consternation because we think they're kind of sweet on each other. And her challenge was for us to help her locate where Marci was. And so I decided I wanted to participate in this challenge, and I have made a card with this Marci, which is Marci Ballerina, and she is so stinking cute. Cute, cute, cute. Very fun to color up with my Copics. And I decided to challenge myself, and I did a couple of other things with her, because I decided that what actually had happened with Marci is it has long been her desire to either be on Dancing with the Stars or dance with the Bolshoi Ballet in Moscow, Russia. When the Bolshoi called and asked her to do a limited engagement with the ballet in Russia, she had to say yes. So you can tell I've created a whole story around that cute little ballerina stamp, and I wanted to just have fun with it and go all out. And I actually ended up doing a watercolor background and a really cool frame to go around it. And rather than take you through the whole thing, I thought I would do a quick little time-lapse video here for you of the watercolor process. I'm not a watercolorist, and that's why this was a challenge. I decided to take a photograph that I had of St. Basil's Cathedral, which is a really well-known landmark in Moscow, and I decided to do a very loose interpretation, and by that, please note, very loose, but I had fun. I used some distress stains as my watercolor palette and just had fun. And you'll see that I had like a major, in the middle of the sky, a big old drop of red ink came on it, and I wanted you to see that I didn't trash it. I went ahead and used it, because when we're doing a challenge or anything else, we need to not fear that it's not going to be perfect, because, you know, as I've said so many times, perfection is for manufacturing. Art requires a little imperfection and a touch of the artist's hand. So I hope that you will find a challenge this week and enjoy doing a little something that maybe gets your creative juices flowing, something that maybe you haven't tried before, or a color combo. Just do whatever, any of those things that you enjoy. You might want to hop over to Sybil's channel and watch her video and play along with her. That would be a fun challenge to participate in. So right now I'm going to go into the time lapse on the watercolor, and right after that I am going to share how I made the frame that I ended up using on this card. And after all that, I'll come back and show you the fun results. Hope you all have fun. Let me know what you think. So I start off just by doing some general shapes. I know that I have some ovals and a triangle basically is what I'm starting with, and then I begin to perfect it just a little bit. And with the watercolors, I'm going to be able to cover this up, so I'm just basically giving myself a little bit of a guide just to make sure I have positioning on each of those. And as you can see, it's just a general gist. So I want to start by blocking in my color, and I found that if I want to kind of keep color in a particular area, that I pre-wet it and then it will flow, but because it's right next to a dry area, it doesn't flow over into that other area. So when you're trying to make shapes on a painting like this, working on a wet area next to a dry area is really, really helpful. And something that I did, and I don't know that you're going to see it, is that I would dry my work in between. I got my heat gun out and actually dried it off. That way I felt like I could keep kind of my areas kind of only moist where I was working. And you see there, I put some water on there because I wanted to blend out some of that darkness. And I'm just kind of using layers. I start with a light layer, and then I go back in and add color to it. The red is going to be kind of a brick area, and so I kind of created those areas and then began to work on making the roof lines, and those I'm just kind of, again, just making a little bit of a suggestion there. Guys, I am not the one to learn watercoloring from, but what I want you to see is that I'm having fun. The things that I know about light and shadow from my Copic coloring, I'm using with my watercolors. I start light and add color. I add color into it, and I used the photograph just as kind of a general idea. And then, because watercoloring is not, at least the way I do it, is not necessarily a really precise type of art, so I let things that I knew that I could create, triangles, circles, shapes, swirls, those kinds of things that I could do. And I just use my I didn't try to make it photo realistic. There are people that are so talented in doing that, but I wanted this to be just a hand drawn version of St. Basil's, and you can see I just kind of kept playing with the colors until I got them where I wanted. And when you're doing something like this, just give yourself the freedom to have fun with it. You know, if it ended up being something that was like, okay, that was fun, but I don't really want to put it on my card, you know what? The time that I spent on this was worth it, because again, I think anytime that you are playing with color, studying values, how does something look, how do you make something look like it's in the foreground? Oh, and there you see the major oops that I had, but you know what, even that, I'm not going to let it bother me. When I got around to doing the sky, I wet the background, put some couple of colors of blue down there. I think I'm using weathered wood and then some tumbled glass. And with watercolors, you know, I began to be able to work that in there. Then the other thing I did to disguise it was I took some of the picket fence and used it when it was all done to put some clouds up in the sky. And I felt like it needed, because it certainly wasn't photorealistic, I needed to kind of give some definition to those lines. So I used a graphite pencil that is water soluble. So I drew the lines, and then I used the paintbrush to dampen those lines, and that makes them darker. You could also use an ink pen to create those dark lines. Now I'm using a Versamark marker to create the crosses with some gold embossing powder. And that was kind of the crowning touch. I'm in the final stage of putting this card together. I've kind of tried everything out to see if it is going to have the space that I want for it, and I'll show you the finished card here in a second. But what I wanted to show you was how I made this little frame. This is a new to me. I think they've been out for a little while, but it's a Spellbinders die, and it's unlike kind of the nesting Spellbinders. This one creates really lovely, intricate frames like this. But instead of this being a single die, like many of their others are, this is actually a layered die. And you see I cut this piece out here, and I'm going to turn this over and see if I can let you see the intricacy of this. There's this, and then here is the inside piece. So the thing that's really cool about this is you use different layers of the die, and I'm going to show those to you, but depending on how you use them, because most of them have a cut edge and then they leave the other edge free. Like this one cut this outer frame, and so to get this I needed to do this cut right here. Can you see that? But when I finished, I ended up with this piece, which is very usable because it has that embossing, and you can see that little detailing around here. So I'm holding on to that. And then to get this inside edge, because the piece that cut this actually left the inside filled, so I used the next one and did this piece. And you can see it also, let me get a white piece up here behind it, also has really nice detailing. So here's what the dies look like. They're a little different, as I said, than our nesting dies. And what you want to pay attention to is where the cutting edge is. Can you see this? See, there's all this embellishment out here, but this edge will not cut, only the inner edge. So if you just used this one, this is the piece that you would get. Okay? If you just use this outer one, because it cuts an inner edge and does some outer embossing. Pretty cool, huh? If you used this one, you would get the inner pieces cut, but you would not get that outer edge because there is no cutting edge along this edge here. So when you put these two together, like this, you would get, actually you would get this piece without the center cut out. It takes this third piece added for you to get this complete frame. Cool, huh? Totally cool. And you get all these extra pieces. You also can cut a corresponding opening. So like I want to layer this frame over this, my card front, and I wanted those to match. So all I did was I took just the centerpiece that is going to cut that edge right there. Put that and cut it out. And I'm left with another one of these pieces, which would make a great label on a scrapbooking page or something like that. So I wanted to show these to you. I was really fascinated by it when I got it, and I've done a little playing around with it, and I think I will use it a lot. I think it gives you a lot of options. And you know me, I'm all about the options. So just so that I can make sure that you see what I'm talking about, I'm going to move. See, it goes all the way down to these ovals. It's a great investment because it's so versatile. So we've got all those. If I'm going to cut the frame that I cut, I started with this piece. I added this piece. fits inside. And then I added this third piece. So you use all of those and you get this piece, and you're also left with these two additional pieces. Hope that makes sense. If you'd like to see more of these frames or how to use these dies, leave me a comment. Obviously this video was about something else, but I thought I would take a moment and just show it to you, and I'll come back and show you my finished card. So here you go. Here is my sweet little Marci, and there she is in front of a framed picture of the St. Basil's Cathedral. I wanted to make it kind of elaborate because I've actually been blessed to have the opportunity to go to the Bolshoi Ballet several times, and the theater, and it's a grand theater, and there's lots of gilding, and it's old, and so some of the frames that you see there, they're gilded, but you can see a little bit of the black showing through. And so I actually did want to just age this frame just a little bit. I used a Cuttlebug folder. I'm so excited. Can you tell I'm excited? I can't even talk right. This background is a 5x7 card, and Cuttlebug is now making 6x12 Cuttlebug folders. I know, who knew? So exciting. You can do a 6x12 piece of paper in it and get that pattern without having to match it up. Very cool, and I certainly put that to use here. And then I just put a little bit of cream ink over the top of it to show that off. I colored up some roses. These are the roses that Marci got when she finished her first night's performance. They came out and brought her a bouquet of roses, and then just colored up some fun I Am Roses up here with some Lindy's Stamp Gang glimmers, or shimmer mist, or starburst stains, I believe they're called. Just a fun card. I don't know if you were able to notice that the crosses on here, I actually used a Versamark pen and drew those in, and then put my gold embossing powder on them. So, you know, when you're trying to create a particular look, sometimes you have to be kind of creative in finding the things that will make that particular piece do what you want it to do. And I, as you hear me say so many times, look at your supplies, think creatively. Sometimes when you see me do things, I want to encourage you that you don't have to use the same thing that I did. If you wanted to do a watercolor, you don't have to use distress stains. You could use, you know, I often use a children's palette of watercolors when I'm doing that. So whatever you have available to you, try it. If it doesn't work, you know, it's paper. It's not, we're not totally tied to having to recreate what somebody else has done. Guys, it's fun to be with you again. I'm going to give you a little heads up on something. I intended to do a series here in July, Christmas in July, and I realize we're right at the end of July, so I don't think I'm going to call it Christmas in July, but this year I am planning on doing several different Christmas cards, and I'm going to do maybe a series of a few cards that I can share with you that you might, if you're trying to get your Christmas cards started early, these would be ones that you can do kind of assembly line style. So I'm working on that, and I also will come back with another video. I want to introduce heart cards to you, a project that my sister and I are working on, and would like to invite you to be part of that too. So I have lots of fun things to share with you. Hope you have a great week, that you will try something fun and creative, and if you have a little stick, or if you're stuck with your mojo, go try a challenge and play along and see if it doesn't get you unstuck. Y'all take care. Love you.